Well, good evening. Like my husband said, I'm Lisa Bowers, and part of the Bowers team here, and I love it. I have some helpers that are going to help me with some things, so that would be right now, if you could. And if you can take the end, just the end there, and go all the way out that door. Don't mess it up. And then, Evan, if I can get you to, that one over there. And then over there in the corner, Evan. And then if I can get you in this corner. And then, Rachie, you're going to take that roll and you're going to go out that door. And you're going to leave the doors. You're going to go all the way out the door, Lou. And you're going to go out that door. Yep. And you're going to leave it open. And you're going to leave it open, but you're going to go all the way. So you got to give some room that way so he can go all the way. There you go. So for you online, I have a string. It's going to look like a string to you. It's a string here. Wow. And my phone is silenced. Okay. There we go. Thank you, Lord. Scam likely. Okay, so I have a cord here, and you can't see the end of it, and you can't see the end of it, and it's gone all the way out the door, and it's all the way over here, okay? And we're going to pretend I've done this before, and people still remember it, and I felt like the Holy Spirit asked me to do it again tonight. And we're going to pretend that this is eternity. Okay, you can't see the end of it. You can't see it. Right? You don't know where it ends and where it begins because it's eternity. It's forever. There is no beginning and no end. And this right here is your life. Let's be generous and say you have 100 good years. That's super generous. Some have a few, some have a few more, and some have a few more than that. So this is your life, and it's going to be right here on the string of eternity. Here you are. That's your life. That itty bitty little piece right there. That's your whole life right there. In the grand scheme of eternity, this is what you're living in right now. So don't you think that we should be concerned about what the rest of it is going to be like? Don't you think that it really does matter what you do in this little tiny life? That it affects all of that? You can't even see the end. And this little tiny life actually affects eternity. And what you decide in this little bitty life actually causes you to live with him or without him in eternity. Now, if you can look at that string, people in the room, take a look. It's going to be with Jesus or without Jesus. There is no gray. There is no in between. It's black and white. And what you do today matters. Who you say yes to today matters. Who you accept as truth matters. What you speak out of your mouth matters. And it will affect eternity. And then in this little life, you have a lot of little lives sitting around you. And you get to choose whether you're going to affect their life for eternity. By being bold, by speaking truth, by calling people up, by saying, listen, we're not going to act like that anymore because that's not who we are anymore. We are new creations. We are not old. We are not old life. We are new. And what we do in this little tiny life affects all of eternity. Every single decision, every single truth right here will affect all of eternity. And that's a lot of eternity. That's a lot. You can't even see the end. It goes. There is no end. And it all matters what you do right here. Okay, thanks, guys. You can go ahead and just drop that, and I will clean that up later. And my helpers outside can come back in. Thank you, helpers. Thank you. Appreciate you. So if we keep that in mind, right? Let's just keep that in mind. Let's just keep that in the back of our mind, that what you do here matters. And getting to know God of the universe, who oversees eternity, who is eternity, who's in eternity, who you will dwell with or without for eternity. Don't you think that we should probably figure out what it is that hinders us from walking, running, crawling into his presence? Don't you think we should figure out the blocks that hinder us from hearing him, knowing him, seeing him, understanding him? So he did that for me this week. He uncovered some blocks on Friday. It happened before Friday. It actually happened last week when I was teaching the level 4s that I get to be a part of with Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly is an incredible level 4 leader, and we have an incredible level 4 class. And I got to speak to them last week, and then on Friday, he just wrapped it up nicely because I realized, ooh, there's a spot there. See, when I was teaching this class, I was teaching about how do you understand a God you don't trust? No, sorry, that's backwards. Pause, rewind. How do you trust a God you don't understand? There we are. Got it. Right? How do you trust a God that you don't understand? And in that class, I brought some things up, and I was like, I don't understand, and there's pain there. I was in the SOT, our School of Transformation, Mumby Hall, and I looked over, and Jordy Mumby's face is on the wall. And that is a moment that I don't understand. That was part of the box of the things that I'm just not going to understand about God, so I'm going to put them in a box. I'm going to shut the lid, and I guess I'm just never going to know. But the pain's not going away. It's still there, and I'm not getting any closer to him, Jesus, because it's hindering me, because I'm pulling away from him, because there's a pain spot that I don't understand. So can I trust him? Well, I can tell you 1,000 different reasons why I can trust him. There are so many in my life. My life is a screaming testimony of ways and reasons why I can trust him. It screams him all throughout my entire life, from the beginning up till today. Hundreds of testimonies, if not thousands, of ways he has come through for me, that he has been there, that he is trustworthy. And yet there are these pain spots. I was 5 months pregnant when Evelyn was diagnosed with cancer. She was 4. In that moment, I thought, if this could happen to this family, I'm not immune. That's a pain spot because I'm 5 months pregnant with my first child. And I'm not on the okay list. I'm on the I don't know or understand you, God. Therefore, I'm going to put this non-understanding, this pain in a box, and I'm just going to leave it there because I don't get it. I had Benton. I then had 3 miscarriages. That's a pain spot. I know who he is. I know him. I know him. I know him so well that I know that if I just touch the hem of his garment, I am healed. I know that. I know that with one word, he spoke light, and it was. Day and night happened because he opened his mouth. Water and land formed because he spoke a word, and then it existed. That's the God I know, and I know him. I know that I know that I know that I know. And I remember crying out, God, I know you can put a heartbeat back in these babies. I know it. I know it everything within me. I know it. I know it. And yet here I am, mourning the loss. I was 8 months pregnant, maybe 6 months pregnant when Evelyn passed away. Pain spot, right? Multiple. But I don't understand God. I don't understand you. I was sure, positive actually, that this wasn't going to be so. I don't understand you, God, so I'm going to put it in this box. I'm going to tuck it away because I don't get it. And can I trust you? I mean, you keep coming through for me, but can I? And the pain spots just keep building, right? These moments in time that bring pain into our life, they just keep building. Because I don't understand them. I can't grasp them. And I think, God, I don't really want to question you because you're God. And I know who you are. So how can I question you? And yet he knows that there's questions. Right? So Jordy gets diagnosed with cancer. And I know, Jesus, that if one word, a look, a glance, your shadow can heal him. I know it. And when it didn't happen, pain spot. I don't understand. And you can rationalize these things because you can say, it's not up for me to understand, God. It really isn't. And you know what? That's truth. It isn't. But these are the moments that if we keep putting them in boxes, if we keep stuffing them away, if we keep hiding them, we grow further and further away from him. We keep taking steps backwards away from him because we're not sure. Are you safe? I know the people in my life that love Jesus with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength, everything within them. They love their neighbor as they love themselves because they love themselves. But beyond that, they did exactly what Jesus said in the most incredible way. And it was just amazing to watch. And yet, they're not immune. They're not on a do not touch list by God. Right? So there's these moments. And so I'm talking about this in class, it's the part for me that gets me and that just really, I guess, causes me to question or causes me to take a step back isn't necessarily that Jordy died or that my babies died or that Evelyn died, but it's what was left behind that I don't understand, right? It goes the deeper part. I just don't understand. And then I can go a step closer because, I have my incredible, precious baby girl, Livy Jane, who I wouldn't have otherwise, right? Just wonderful little girl, blessing in my life. God is good. And there's all these things that I can run to him for, and I run to him. But back in the back, there are these moments of I just don't get it. Therefore, in these things, I'm going to make sure that I'm kind of a little bit on guard a little bit because I'm not immune. The people in my life that I love, I'm watching them go through sorrow and heartache. But I know who you are, God. Right? So I said, hey, Maria, I need an inner healing. And an inner healing is a moment in time that you set aside, often with somebody else, and you go after the hurts of life, and you ask God to come in, to speak his truth, and to invade that pain spot so that it's not so painful because it's filled with him and his hope and his truth. And when you can find truth in those moments, it shifts something. The disconnect is no longer disconnected because now you have truth to stand on, right? It's great. It's what we do here, and it's what I have watched saved so many people's lives. It saved mine. Jesus shows up for me. So he showed up for me. So in these moments, we're in inner healing, and he says, Maria says, hey, you have something to say to the Lord. And I was like, oh, boy. Yes, I do, but I don't want to say it. And I had this picture of myself on the boat, and Jesus is lying there, and there's a storm all around, right? And he's on the boat in this picture, and I'm standing there, and he's just looking at me, and he's like, come on, lay down with me. Just lay right here. Come on. And I'm like, And Maria's like, go ahead. I was just like, get up. Jesus, get up. Get up. Do something. Get up. And this emotion came out of me because I know who he is. Jesus, please get up. This desperation in my heart, please, Jesus, get up, because I know you. Because I know you can do this. Because I know that every storm in every person's life, you are there, yes, but you can change it. Get up. And he said, come on. Come lay right here beside me. So after I got it all out, I laid beside him and I said, why do you lay here? And he said, because when I look up into the heavens, I can see my Father's face. And as long as I see my Father's face, I know what I'm doing. And I can see all the stars in the heavens when I lay right here in this boat. And then it doesn't matter what the storm does, because I can see the face of my Father. And if you're staring into the face of the Father, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. But you have to lay right here, and you have to stare up. But you're with me. And I'm not worried about the storm, because I can see his eyes and I can see his face. And I'm only doing what he's doing. I'm only saying what he's saying. So would you come? And it was like, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords invaded that room in that moment. And I could lay there with Jesus, looking up at the Father's face, knowing that I am completely taken care of, and not just me. Every one of those pain spots, every one of those moments that I know that my friends are hurting in, I know that he's right there. Look up. Because the Father's face is staring down at you. And sometimes we get really busy with just doing and doing and doing, and that's great. We need to. But we also need to stop in the middle of a storm, or if storms have already come and gone and you've been left feeling like, now what? Jesus, now what? Look up. Look at the Father's eyes. Look at his face, because he wants to meet you in that place. He wants to show you himself. See, we don't understand God because we have a wrong definition usually of understand, and we need to define that. See, understand can go two ways. Your understanding of God is because you want to draw close to him. I can't get enough of you, and I need to grasp a little bit of your greatness. I need to have a visual picture of what eternity looks like so I can hold on to something that is bigger than my being, myself, my little life, all that I know. I want to go after the mysteries of the world. Did you know that he says that he has mysteries that nobody else knows, and you could know them? But do we ask? Do we draw close to him in that way? Do we go after him in this understanding, in this definition of understanding? Or do we go into the understanding of, I need to understand you, God, because I'm afraid and I need to be in control? We need to define our understanding of God. Why do we need to understand him? Why do we need to understand him to trust him? Because you're afraid? I was. Because you want to be in control? I needed it so that my life could seem somewhat sane. I needed to be in control. But that caused distance, and that caused me to question trust with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and he's done nothing to waver with his eyes upon me. It's me that stepped back because of the pain. I allowed the pain to come between me and him. And he came and he met me and he broke through in that moment so that I could define the word understanding in my life to mean I'm coming after you with all that I am and all that I have and all that will be today and in the future. Because I want more of you. Because there's no bottom to God. There is endless amounts of God. You don't get to the end of him ever. Ever. He's endless. He's bottomless. We can't even grasp that because we have things that have bottoms. And we search them as humans. So we can't even grasp the fact that there is something bottomless, unending. There is no end. There is no stopping point. You can go all the way 100 miles a minute, all that you are, all that you have, diving into him and never find the end of him. But let's do that so that in this life, we have the fruit that will affect eternity. And not just our eternity, everybody's eternity. Let's have those things in our life that we're going after, that we're allowing him to come into the pain, we're allowing him to come into our definition of understanding God. I need to understand you, God. Why? It should be the first question we ask. Why? Am I in fear right now? Am I needing to be in control right now? Or is it because I just want to get to know you more? Mostly with pain, it's because you need to be in control because you're afraid. Watching somebody else go through it, you're afraid it might happen to you. Going through it, you're afraid it might happen again. But he is trustworthy. You don't need to put this up there, Jared, but it says in Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Lisa Kelly showed a clip today in our Wednesday morning class, and it was funny because I was going through some possible clips, but then realized people online can't watch the clip because of copyright stuff, so I couldn't play it. But it's another example of what are we keeping our eyes on and why. And it's this picture of the chosen, and it's Peter, and he's in the boat, and Jesus is walking on the water towards him, and he calls him out. But see, in this scene, there's some creative licensing, which it's good. But he's going through this loss of his child, right? In this part of the segment of the show, and I could relate. And he was angry with God because he's watching God heal everybody around him, all the people that he quote unquote doesn't know or isn't with him, right? But he's with him. His wife had to go through that, and he's with Jesus. And why couldn't you do this for me? And he's angry about it, and he calls him out. And Jesus says, if you call me out, he says, Jesus, if you call me out, I'll get out of this boat. He says, come on, right? Jesus is probably like, you lob me a softball. Called him out. He got out of the water. But then the circumstances, the pain, overwhelmed him. And all of a sudden the waves caught his attention instead of keeping his eyes on Jesus. But Jesus didn't let him drown. He didn't. He was right there. Where in our lives do we feel like we need to step out of the boat? Or we need to lay beside him and look at the Father? But there's still a storm that has either raged around you or is raging around you. And there will be storms that will in the future rage around you. And what will your go-to be? Seeking out the Father's face, I hope. And not holding on to anger and pain and bitterness and resentment, unforgiveness. A fist at God. See, because he knows all of eternity. He is all of eternity. And he sees the full picture. We don't. We just see that little tiny life that we're so consumed by. But what happens in that little tiny life will affect all of eternity. So let's start going after the places that have kept us from him, so that that doesn't affect all of eternity. And let's go after the pain spots in our life that we've tucked away or hidden or chose to bury deep, where we've said things like, I'll never tell anybody this. I'll never reveal this. No one will ever see this vulnerable side of me. And let's choose to go after it, because it will affect eternity. It will. That little lie affects eternity. That exaggeration affects eternity. Because then they start to compile. Right? It's easy to do it once and then do it again. And then all of a sudden you're right back to being the person that you've tried so hard not to be, doing the same patterns you've tried so hard not to do, even if it's things that we can, quote unquote, say they are lesser of a sin, because we do that. Oh, well, I only lie sometimes. But let's go after all of it. Let's not have anything kept away saying, oh, well, that's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Well, will it affect eternity? You should probably ask Jesus. Because it might affect your relationship today, that affects your relationship tomorrow, that builds walls between you and him the next day, that pulls you further away from him the next day, and it gets easier to not hear his voice and not listen. So let's do some business with Jesus. Let's allow him to highlight in you the areas that you haven't really wanted to go to him with. Those pain spots that you've just kind of said, well, I don't understand you, God, so I guess I'm just not going to. But it's caused a rift between the two of you. And let's bring those to him. Let's ask him, where are you in the midst? What do you want to say to me? What truth do you want to speak in the middle of this pain? What do I need to know from you? And if that's you, if something came to your mind and you're like, yep, I know exactly what it is, then I want to encourage you to come to the altar and to converse with God about it and invite him into it, so that it doesn't hold you back. And if you don't have anything today, but tomorrow all of a sudden something comes up, go to him. Go to him. Don't let anything hold you back. So I'm going to invite the ministry team to come. And if this is something that you need to get with God about, then I encourage you to come and to pray with one of these leaders who have all done their own healing journeys, and they are safe people that have a life of fruit, and their fruit will affect eternity. So let it affect yours today. So Jesus, we just thank you so much for what you're doing in our lives, and we just come to you and bring this pain to you. We bring the pain to you. The unforgiveness, the self-hate, the pain of questions unanswered, the things that distance us from you, Jesus. We choose today to be healed, to restore those little bits of distance with you in our relationship. In In Jesus' name.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe so that you never miss another video or live stream. And if you'd like to support the Father's House, just click the Give button. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you soon.